All right, we're live. We got one. Oh, live for 3 seconds now. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Love What You Do show. Today, my guest is Shaun Duvall, the founder and managing partner of Duvari Group. And what they do is they're a tech and recruitment firm for tech professionals and executives inside of that space. Did I get all that right, Shaun?
No, I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. So,
okay, cool. And I know, Shaun, I met you, I don't know, was it like 3 or 4 years ago?
yeah,
I forget even who we introduced us at this point. Was it Dan?
it could be.
I don't know. Either way.
We talked to a lot of people, that's for sure. A lot of interconnectedness.
What'd you say?
I said a lot of interconnectedness.
Yeah. And the reason I asked Shaun on today is because he's got a great story of you were in the space, you weren't doing your own thing at that point, but you were doing recruitment. You're doing a really great job, and then you took this big, giant leap of faith. And that's what I want people to hear and listen for, is like, it wasn't just quit and start somewhere else. There was a big, giant gap there. So, yeah, why don't you share your story, and I'll kind of dig in.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, looking back, I don't know if I want to go through it all over again or not. But I'm just extremely blessed and happy that I did. I don't think I could have ever learned as much as I have in such a short, condensed period of time. And the crazy part was I was set up to have a pretty easy kind of future. I was getting promoted to be a director of a company that I was with for 8 years when I got into recruiting and staffing, and amazing people. They really, I can't complain whatsoever. And boy, they gave me a shot into, a new industry, which has been awesome. And really, I was going to be taking a leadership role. And when I started thinking about it, I'm like, all right, what are some of the things that are important to me? And no joke, I got out of Brian Tracy's, book, kind of sculpting your own company. And I started going through that, and literally it's hundreds of pages. And it started just asking you all these really detailed questions about who you are, kind of your why, if you follow Simon Sinek. And it kind of put a lot of those questions in my head. And I started deciding, like, well, what is success for me? What is, when I'm looking back, years, down the road, what's going to be the most important things that I've accomplished, and how can I have assisted people in the best way? And it did a lot of just questions around and around, and finally got to the point I'm like, boy, a lot of the things that I want to accomplish, I really think I need to go off my own to do it. And I had a lot of people think that I was crazy. I was set up for success. The easy button was like right there in front of me, and I just wouldn't push it. And it was, and I think it could have been a good opportunity for me. But just really going off my own, it took so many conversations. It took the big guy from upstairs to kick me in the can, I don't know how many times. It did. And he had spoken through so many different individuals that there's no other way. Like the stars had to align a certain way to get me out of my zone. And really it did. It took some entrepreneurs to speak into me. It took some coaches that I spoke with to finally get me out of my shell, like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And so I finally got to that day where I made the decision. I put in notice to a great company with a lot of promise. And it took a year. I wish I could say I took a year off, but I didn't. I ended up taking a year to really build the company, build the foundation. I used like the E-Myth series with Michael Gerber to use some of their software, which was really helpful to kind of really get some stuff on paper and in detail. Randomly enough, so I didn't at that point have a revenue stream coming in. And I was on a webinar with a lady out in Las Vegas, and she was an owner of a staffing firm, which I had no idea. And she owns a CRM ATS system for recruiting. And so it wasn't even on that subject. It was something on recruiting. And so I listened in, and I loved it. I loved the content of it. And afterwards, I just had this little thing in my ear. It just said, why don't you send her a quick thank you? And then in my other ear, I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I mean, how cheesy is that? Sending a thank you to a professional in Vegas. I'm like, ah. And then I'm like, no, that's what I got to do. So I ended up sending, literally 2 to 3 sentences just saying, thanks so much. It was great content. I appreciate it. Just wanted to let you know. Literally within, I don't know, a couple hours, she responds back. She's like, you have time to talk?
Sucker.
Well, at this point, I'm like, I got all the time in the world, I got a year. So really, I started talking to her. We probably talked for an hour. She's like, and it was funny. She's like, I know I'm in the customer service business, but there's not a lot of people I enjoy speaking with. So she's like, so can I call you next week? Sure enough, we did. We spoke for a few hours. Before you know it, I'm assisting her on getting into a company in Vegas to build out their IT presence, and because they were a financial accounting type of company. So I had that capability to kind of make an impact. It allowed me to bring in some revenue stream for that year time frame, and to also have the time to really focus in and build the company.
Yeah, which is cool. Like for people listening may not know, like you couldn't do the work that you were doing because you were, like contractually like a non-compete. So and I'm sharing this because I think it's really like a testament to the faith of like what you want to do. Like I want to do this, but I can't even do it for a year, and most people wouldn't, And so you like took that leap, and then things started showing up, and then someone spoke to you here.
It was interesting, the conversations that got me to the point. I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leap, and I'm going to have faith. And then it didn't stop there. It was like, it was a week later when I had that other conversation. All of a sudden, I'm helping recruit and talk to hiring managers with this company in Vegas. And it was just like these things came together. I'm like, there's no other way this happens, without the assistance of God. I mean, there's nothing.
So it wasn't a crazy little voice in your head. There's
lots of whispers, and sometimes I didn't act, and sometimes, it finally, after, hearing it so many times and from so many different angles, you're like, all right, I'm listening. All right.
I'll try this.
And it's not to say life hasn't just been, perfectly, cookie cutter either. Lots of learning.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I was reading or listening to something. It's like that little voice is never like demanding, but it's always like kind of gentle and like, hey, you should go this way. Hey, go this way. And it just will keep reminding you. And until you actually take the steps, sometimes people get it, sometimes they don't, right? But when you do, that's the really cool part, And so you took it. I think actually most people who start a business, their first couple of years suck anyways. They're figuring it out, right?
And the cool part was I didn't have to go through that process too much. There's a lot of learning lessons and hiring and systems and automation. There's just so much that goes into it. And I mean, starting something from scratch, it really was. I've never done it before, so everything was new. But when we finally opened our office in August of 2018, I mean, it was just a blessing from the fact a lot of companies that I've worked with in the past, I've had relationships. We just started like where we left off. We literally hired our first person in 1 week, which I was anticipating, a month or so before we would have our first hire, if not longer. So it was a very nice little start from the beginning.
That's cool. Like, I think that's just, it just says, you're on the right path, right?
It was. And I can tell you, the first day in my office, I'm sitting there with me and one other individual that had never been an IT recruiter, that had no recruiting experience, no IT experience. I almost lost my voice the first day because I just sat there and we trained and talked and what, all is involved. And I kid you not, by the end of the day, I'm like, what in the world did I get myself into? I've never felt anxiety and fear as much as I did that day. I'm not gonna lie, it was so overwhelming, but I knew I've built up to this point. You can't stop. And it was neat. I had people even calling me that day and everything, and just, speaking, into me, but we're human. And sometimes you just get freaked out a little bit, but
and people don't know you're married and you've got you guys have 1 or 2 kids?
2 kiddos, a 7-year-old. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Maya, and a 15-year-old son, Landon.
Yeah. So you weren't just going out, by yourself, like doing this. It was, hey, I'm doing this and I got a family to support and everything behind it too. So
yeah, my wife, she had taken about a handful of years off, prior. And so when I transitioned and we kind of went this path, she went back to work. And yeah, there was a lot of interesting dynamics from a family perspective and obviously from a professional.
Yeah, I'm sure you call it interesting dynamics when they're happening. This is an interesting dynamic, honey.
Yeah, I think we're interesting to find a lot right now.
So you guys have an interesting approach, and I just like who you are, Shaun, and how you build relationships. Like I've been in IT. I know some of the arena in recruiting, and I still get emails today from recruiters all over the place. I don't want to, but my name's been buried in the database, and it's got next to it, some system they're looking for, and I'm like, you haven't looked at my profile, obviously. Like it has nothing to do with, I still help people in tech, but I'm not like in the tech space. So how do you guys help people, and what's different about, Duvari Group?
It's our approach. I mean, I think I could continue doing what I was doing for, until I retired. Really the biggest reasons is I just wanted to approach things differently. Our industry is very metric driven. It's very, how many people, resumes can you submit to these companies, which are clients, and, and it's very defined. It's very metric driven, to the point it's very transactional.
Yeah.
And I just got to the point, I'm like, why do we do what we do? And it a lot of times it took the human element out of it. And I'm just like, gosh, if we could fully focus on serving others and putting them, in front of ourselves and our own ambitions, and really look to serve them, figure out how to help and assist. I mean, the coolest part is we get to assist people in one of the most time periods they're freaked out the most. I mean, when you make a transition from company to another, that's the anxiety driven time, and that's the cool part is we get to really break down what's important to them. We get to coach them, we get to listen, and kind of guide them through the process. And we just that's our luxury. That's the part that we get fulfilled by doing it. I'm like, why in the world aren't we focusing that as our core of who we are and what we do? Because compensation and the finances and all that, the financial aspects, that's a byproduct. And if we do what we're supposed to do correctly and serve people, well, we'll do just fine, as from a financial perspective. But once again, it's the byproduct of it. Yeah. So I think it's more the focus. It's kind of having that serving mentality. We've really implemented this. Simon Sinek, I love the guy. And it's understanding everyone's why. So we built kind of the way we built our company is understanding, we have to understand our personal why. So if we don't take time to understand who we are, how can we speak confidently to others? So our why. Then we have to know our company's why. So collectively as a team, that's one of the things I've seen with a lot of organizations is if you kind of went around the table with every employee, why are we here today? What is our why? You would probably have, if you have 20 people around the table, you might have 20 different answers. Yep. And I wanted that to be kind of the core of who we are. Is like, hey, we're here to serve. We're here for the people. We want to make sure that, during this time period of anxiety driven time, we're going to take that load off you and we're going to assist you through that. And you're the focus. It's not what it's in it for me. It's more, how can we assist in any capacity? Yeah. So it was just, it's definitely a mindset and a shift. So it's been fun. I mean, and even with the last few months, it it really helped because it put on the brakes of everything we were doing. We were really fortunate. We hit the ground running. We had a lot of work to do, which was awesome. And we worked with a lot of different clients, and we were helping a lot of people get new jobs. But when you are sprinting out of the gates, sometimes you neglect some of the foundational things. And and this little pause over the last few months has just been awesome for us.
Yeah.
Now,
you go ahead.
no, financially, I would beg to differ. It's taken a pause in that arena as well. But we've still been blessed to have some consistency and have items to work on, and we're still able to assist. During this time period, we've had some clients still hiring through it, which has been fantastic. But the cool part is how we brought together our group. I mean, thank God for technology. Having team huddles every morning, and it just helped us connect as a team. So right now we have 5 individuals working for us. So we have a nice small team, but I've gotten to know my team more intimately in the last few months than I've ever had the opportunity. And we've just been intentional during the time period. One of the things we've done is we've kind of done some, every week we've kind of had a theme. One week we did a training week so that each team member had the opportunity to present on a certain topic that was important to them, that they thought, us being the audience, that they could teach us on. And so we were able to, learn from them, and then learning from the art of teaching. And I had one individual, when we first started these huddles, she would not want to turn on her camera. Like it was not her jam. And no joke, she's now like teaching and doing stuff on camera, and there's just this comfort to her. And I'm just like, I love it. I love it.
The bathroom with her, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to see any of that right now. Like you've gone too bold.
It is. And then another week we did a pay it forward week. We sent out gift cards to our entire team to, practice the art of giving. I mean, during a time that a lot of people were just holding tight to everything they had, we wanted to be the opposite. We wanted to be a kind of a difference maker with the people around us. So we ended up, how can we give to others around us in a time of need? And how can we be different? How can we be intentionally looking at those opportunities? Can I help my neighbor, just even mow their grass, or, different things like that? We had some really cool stories come out of that week just from Pay It Forward.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like, it's the giver's gain, I guess that's the best way to put it. Like when you put it out there, it will come back, but you don't have control over what that will look like, No. Magic surprise. So I'm actually interested in, you guys just had a training this week. How did that go? You guys are teaching people how to tell their stories better.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. It was really neat, and it was kind of, that's been the fun part of having the capability to bring outside individuals to, like, we do IT recruiting. There's a lot of IT recruiting, seminars and workshops, and it's like, all right, well, let's look at what's important to us as a core, and let's just go find the best people in that arena. Mm-hmm. And so we used Bridget Brown. She's awesome. She actually was an executive that I worked with for a very short period of time at RGA years ago. And she went off on her own to create Story Matters. And basically she was in IT just like you, Brad. And she was on the side. She was helping a lot of executives, CEO level, director level in the IT world, and even on the business side, how to tell stories in the most impactful way that they're memorable and that you can really engage and assist people in the best manner. And I'm like, how perfect is this? I'm like, well, Bridget, you know IT, so you kind of know our space. How cool is that? I'm like, you've worked with staffing agencies, so kind of, you've seen the different aspects of how staffing agencies present themselves and who they are. And I'm like, and you tell stories for a living, and you teach people, how to tell stories. And I'm like, And the first thing she said is like, you got to know your why. And I'm like, oh, you got me. I'm like, we're here.
Why?
And it was, and it was really cool engaging our team. I mean, once again, I had individuals that did not like video, and now we were doing improv in front of everybody. And I'm like, I was telling my team, I'm like, you might love me or you might hate me after this training, but there is improv involved in this training. So, but it was cool. Everybody did awesome. There was a lot of, points taken away, because we ourselves, we're storytellers at heart. We have to know everyone's stories. And if we can't explain that and connect those dots, we'll never be as good as we could be. So that's one area that I thought was awesome to kind of call out and form a workshop around.
Is that what, when you guys are guiding your, the recruitees, I guess, when you're sharing with them how to prepare for the interview and get set up, is now you've got this other tool in your tool belt to be like, hey, this is how you but a great way to tell your story. So
and I think it's everybody does things differently, and I don't want to take that creative edge away from anyone. I don't want robots. I don't want people just saying things to say things. I want them to believe in themselves and have the confidence to have the conversation and just tell the story that, hits home to them. Because the story I tell, even though they're talking maybe about the same exact situation, it's going to come from a different perspective. And how cool is it that we get to align on that and tell our stories and align it the way, that's most meaningful to us.
Yeah. It makes a difference when, I think I shared this with you last week or the week before when we were talking about doing this. The one guy that I work with, or one of my clients a few weeks ago, he's getting ready. He's an engineer, and he really cared about the environment, but he was really struggling with the interview process. And so I brought him to the point of like, well, why do you really care? Like his why. And it ended up being his childhood. Like someone tore down his favorite place to go play in the woods. And like as a little kid, that moment of like those bulldozers getting rid of those woods and like, tearing down his favorite thing drove him and became his why, to go to school, get a PhD in engineering just so he can help the environment, but that's his passion. That's his path. And now he knows and he understands his story. So when he goes and is a candidate, he can, really powerfully share that. And he becomes someone that stands out. Like now I know why this guy cares. Okay. Maybe we should bring him on. Like it leaves that that remembrance of someone, right?
Absolutely. And that's the fun part about what we're doing is it's bringing out things that aren't being recognized from themselves. Like all of us have a why. There's every one of us has a passion, a reason of some sort. Every one of us have been brought up differently. We've had different exposures, different troubling times that we had to overcome that makes us think the way we think. And so when you have that capability to speak to people openly, create some comfort, and I know this is what you do, it allows them to be able to really figure out who they are as a person. Why do they want to do certain things? And if you can connect on that and guide them to the direction that they need to go so that they're thriving and they can make the most impact on, the people around them, that's how you change the world, little small steps.
Well, yeah, one little thing at a time, So, so if there's, how do people connect with you or someone, in the company, if they're looking to make a change, if they're looking to make a jump, like who are your ideal clients?
Yeah. So the neat thing through us was I've worked with a lot of in the St. Louis market. We're focused just here in St. Louis right now. We have some clients that are out of state and we're assisting them as well. And we will eventually expand outside, but we've have a lot of mid-level clients that we have very good relationships that we can call and get feedback and, have those conversations to understand really what they're looking for and what's important and how can we get the person that's going to be thriving in your environment specifically. And it's not just a technology. It's more about who are they as a person that's going to fit the mold of what you're looking for, because it is. I mean, in supply and demand and in the IT world, I mean, there's limited. So you got to make sure you have a story. And so we work with a lot of mid-sized companies. We have some bigger staple account, enterprise level accounts as well. So we're just kind of diversified, and yeah, it's been a fun ride. And I mean, even this past week, we've had probably a half dozen conversations with new companies that are kind of bubbling up that it would be really fun. My business partner, Brooke Graham, he's doing a lot of, kind of expanding the business and just having those different conversations. So it's fun to kind of hear those conversations going on.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you clarified that, because I was looking at the website earlier. I was like, Brooke, and something was off, and I was like, I thought he said he had I wasn't thinking. I thought when you said it was a him, and I was like, Brooke, and I hadn't even thought of like, oh, Brooke could be a guy's name,
Yeah, we get that a lot. So we razz them all the time, so no worries.
Okay, cool. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Shaun. I really appreciate you. So the website is it duvarigroup.com or just duvari.com?
We made it simple. It's duvari.com.
And Duvari. And if you're watching this, you can read his hat. If you're listening to this, you can't read his hat. It's Duvari.
There you go.
So if you're looking for, a great recruiting agency in the St. Louis area, and hopefully here in the near future beyond, Shaun and his team can really help you guys. I appreciate you, Shaun. Yeah.
Appreciate you on.
Yeah. I'm going to end the broadcast, and then we'll talk after this. Have a good day, man.
You too. Take care.